Hello, friends. It's Nancy from Astrology and Angel Mediums again, and I wanted to do a pick a pile, but a little bit different. So this way you don't have to suffer me trying to pick the cards. So each pile has quite a few cards underneath it. So this is a time that I hope that you can choose whatever deck or whichever set of these cards you feel drawn to. So here's pile 1, pile 2, and then pile 3 over here. So choose. So hello and welcome, pile 1. This is going to be your reading of the different cards that I have here. So the very first card is going to be Call, which is essentially judgment in traditional tarot. Put that little guy there. And then we have Harmony, which is the Lover's card. And here we have our first oracle card, which is Clearing Your Space. Next to that, we have Hope, Dream, lots of keywords here, Veiled, Visualize, Affirm, and Manifest, and then Let Go of the Drama. Now, I don't know if these bottom ones are going to be in frame, so I may just kind of move them over to the sides to kind of help give us a little bit of what we need here. So, and if it looks crooked, I'm sorry. I don't always lay these out right. So hopefully it still makes sense and you guys enjoy the reading. So the very first card, watch me struggle to pick it up, is Call, which is essentially, this is the judgment card in traditional tarot. And so this is just kind of talking about a rebirth or some sort of opportunity for you to kind of move forward. And it's time to really refocus on what you've done and how that is getting you to where you want to be. Now, next to that, we do have Harmony, which is essentially the Lover's card, which to me is always a card that is just a reminder of bringing that harmony and also aligning ourselves with a life that we actually love and the things that we love. And so I think with the Call, it's almost saying okay, your time to really do the things that you need to be doing or the things that you want to be doing is now. And what is it that you actually really love about the things that are trying to kind of unfold for you at this present time? Now, next to that, we have Clearing Your Space, which is not just energetic, but also physically. Maybe this is a reminder to clean up some of the stuff, clear some of the clutter, do some of your spring cleaning, so to speak, and get yourself ready for the next season that is going to unfold for you. Because it feels to me, it's almost saying you want these things, you're trying to kind of align yourself with all of these different aspects in your life, but you're not making that space. And so you need to really open yourself up to what possibilities are available to you by making space for that to happen. It's wanting something new in your home, so to speak. It's hard for us to have the next thing fit if we're still full of all of the other things that we've outgrown or the things that no longer make sense for the life that we have. Underneath that, we have Hope, which to me is just kind of saying this is about trust, faith, healing the past, looking at your hopes versus expectations. And I think that with the eclipse as it happened, it's almost saying there's a lot of things that maybe are being currently removed from your life, or you're having to kind of let go of a lot of different things. Maybe there's a lot of this sense of clearing away your space in order for you to really have what you need to move into the next phase. And I think with the Hope card, I think it's also a reminder that you get to control what it is that you want to believe in and how you want to move into this next thing. Now, next to that, we have Dream, which is just kind of telling you that life can be a dream come true. Seeing as to which right now we have Mars and Saturn in Pisces conjunct at the current moment. And I don't know if anybody else is feeling this kind of energy. It's been very anxiety producing for me today. And so it's funny because right now I'm trying to kind of refocus on what am I focusing on as far as my dreams, my hopes, what is it that I want? What is it that I need? And I think that this is almost a reminder for you that life can be a dream come true. And that's maybe where Hope is trying to kind of push that energy forward to allow you to really refocus on what have you been dreaming about? Where have you been putting a lot of your energy into? What is it that you've been focusing on? Now, veiled, to me, this can just talk about maybe someone is like wearing a mask and not being quite so honest with you, or maybe there's something that you're just not going to see clearly right now. And I think with this dreamy energy, with so many different things still being in Pisces, I think a lot of us are having a hard time kind of seeing and gaining that clarity as far as like what comes next, what are we doing, what is it that like we're looking for. And I think with the veiled card, it's just a reminder of that kind of energy of just like some things are just beyond our understanding and what we can see. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's more to say like, maybe it's time for us to learn how to drop that mask within ourselves as far as like, oh, I want, this because of this. And then coming to the realization that maybe you've outgrown that dream, but you've been focusing and working really hard towards it. And maybe with this call card where it's kind of saying like, what is it that you need to surrender and move from in order for you to make space for the next thing? If you hear my dog snoring in the background, sorry, she's really relaxed right now. If I can figure out how to insert a picture, maybe I'll insert a picture. And so I think that it's almost saying like we are wanting this harmony. We're wanting to align ourselves with things that we love. We want these different qualities to kind of happen for us. And we want that balance. We want to be able to like, really find what it is that's making us happy, but it's hard because we're not making that space, or we haven't made the space. And so it has been a little bit challenging. And maybe that's where we've been veiled, is that, it almost looks like this person's wearing a mask too, where it's almost saying like, there's something that we're kind of hiding behind, whether it's the clutter energetically, physically, that is just kind of keeping us stuck. And so maybe that's where we haven't been able to see past things. And so it makes it hard for us to have that sense of hope. And it does make it a little bit challenging to bring those dreams to life, because maybe we've been so focused on how does this look for everybody else, or what does everybody else kind of expect of me right now? And I think with this visualize, affirm, and manifest card is that it's reminding you, it's like, what are you doing right now? Like, yeah, I know with the eclipses, it made it a little bit challenging because, there's a lot of this kind of unexpected energy that tends to come with eclipses, like where we just can't see things quite so clearly. And so it makes it hard for us to visualize correctly or to manifest in the ways that we have that intention to do so. Now, if you're all about that chaotic kind of energy, good for you. But for some of us, we kind of tend to struggle with that. And so I think with this visualize, affirm, and manifest card is that it's really kind of saying like, what are you doing for yourself? Like maybe this is an opportunity for you to remind yourself of like, what kind of affirmations are you focusing on? What sort of protections are you putting over yourself? What sort of magic are you kind of doing? And if you're like, I don't do any of those things, that's fine. What stories are you telling yourself inside of your head? Like what sort of things are you constantly repeating to yourself, whether it's good or bad? And we have to remember like that is essentially an affirmation in a lot of ways. And so that is something that we tend to kind of manifest in our experiences, whether we mean to or not. If I'm constantly talking down about myself or talking down to myself, it's interesting because I almost feel like the universe serves up that same sort of energy externally for me to feel that challenge of like, I don't like other people outside of me talking to me this way, so why should I allow myself to talk to myself this way? And I think that this is almost a reminder of like, we are here to kind of visualize and affirm and manifest and believe. And I think with Saturn being in Pisces, I think that this is a wonderful time for us to focus on kind of that energetic pull between the things that we want and what we're trying to kind of bring into our lives. And also with Mars being there, it does feel a little bit like, we don't know what's going to happen. I feel like the possibilities are pretty much endless with that kind of energy. And finally, we have let go of the drama, which I think goes very well with this veiled energy, where it's almost saying like, just because you're not seeing something clearly doesn't mean that you need to insert yourself into things that aren't for you. And maybe that is where this clearing your space energy is kind of telling you like, all right, we got to clear this kind of drama, these old stories, these things that maybe no longer make sense for who we are. We need to let that shit go, because this is our rebirth so that we can really align ourselves with the things that we really truly love and really start clearing our space for us to really have that renewed sense of hope, for our dreams to come true, for the mask to finally fall off, for us to really truly visualize and affirm and manifest what we need, and to no longer hang on to old stories that no longer make sense for who we are. So I hope that makes sense. Let me know what you think. And thank you for joining me. Have a good one. Hello, pile number 2. Thank you for joining me. I hope that you enjoy this reading. I've already pulled all the cards and hopefully I can get everything in frame and it'll look good. So the very first card I have is going to be the Ace of Fire or Ace of Wands. Next to that we have Disruption. Next to that we have the Path. Next to that we have Breathe. Next to that we have Pure. And then Air, Breathe, Pure, Air. Funny, I just realized that. Then we have Joy and Release what you cannot control. Which, you know, I hope I can get this figured out because I kind of messed up and I pulled the wrong set of cards first. And I don't know how to edit this. So we're going to try to figure this out. And if it's a little messy, then, you know, that's life, right? Okay. So the very first card I got here is going to be the Ace of Fire, which is essentially the Ace of Wands. So to me, this is very much a card of like finally feeling like opportunities are presenting themselves. We're seeing this sense of like momentum, a new sense of vitality coming into our lives. Now, this can be in a lot of different aspects. I feel like wands really cover a much more spiritual kind of element. So maybe like in our spirits, we're kind of feeling this sense of like, I'm ready to get out there and do things. But what's interesting is because next to that, we have Disruption, which is essentially the Tower card. And so to me, this is almost saying like, there's some sort of breakdown that needs to happen in order for us to get that breakthrough, in order for us to really get on the right path to do what we need to be doing. Now, I think with the Tower card or Disruption, so to speak, is that, you know, none of us want our plans to be kind of sidetracked. We don't want to have to challenge what we've been doing. A lot of us are creatures of comfort. And I think that because this Ace of Wands or Ace of Fire is kind of pushing this energy, it's almost saying like, all right, this is that fire that is going to light your ass up, basically, so that you can shift and break away from anything that is no longer viable, so to speak, where there is nothing that is kind of shifting the way that it needs to. And I think with the Path card is that it's almost saying like, okay, we need to kind of choose what we're going to do with these things and the things that are kind of happening around us. How can we shift away from the old ways of being? And I think with that Ace of Fire, it's almost saying like, we can't keep doing things the way that we've been doing it. We need to do things that feel better for us, that bring out that joy, that feel pure to who we are. And I think with the Path, it's almost saying like, this is your opportunity to kind of choose your own adventure in a lot of ways. And there may be some things that are going to be opening up on your path. And so it's time to just be receptive to that, because sometimes I feel like a lot of us, we tend to block ourselves with that energy. And so I think it's kind of saying like, all right, we are on the right path, even if there's disruptions, even if things have changed in some way, we are changing. So the path will continuously change too. Now, next to that, we have Breathe, which is about returning to that breath, calming the mind. Breathing is life. I know eclipse season and the retrogrades, or the retrograde with Mercury, it's just, it has a lot of us kind of feeling a little bit twisted up, a little bit confused, a little bit out of alignment with who we are in some ways. And so there is like this sense of, we need to just breathe. We need to just kind of connect a little bit more to our physical self. I don't know if you guys can hear my dog over here snoring her little butt off. But it's almost this like reminder of just like, just breathe, you know, taking that time for conscious breath, whether it's breath work, whether it's just really taking some time out to take a full deep breath in your physical body and invigorating yourself with that air, so to speak. And I think that this is also a reminder of what we are kind of doing with our minds, especially when some other stuff is kind of happening around us that's outside of our control. I think it's kind of saying like, we need to breathe and we need to just let it be what it needs to be. Now, Pure, we're going to cover that up in case YouTube gets upset with me. I think that this is just kind of telling you to honor your temple. When is the last time you took some time out to really take care of yourself? And I think with the Breathe card, it's almost saying like, maybe you need to kind of get outside, breathe some fresh air. Maybe you need to purify different elements in your home, whether that's like clearing the clutter away or making space for this next thing. Maybe it's also honoring your temple. Our bodies are the place where our soul lives, right? And so it is what is encasing the magical, spiritual, cosmic stardust that we all are. And life on earth is not always kind or simple or easy. And we're aging, we're like in this decaying kind of enclosure. And so a lot of us tend to forget that we need to take some time out to take care of that enclosure, so to speak. We may do things for the mind. We may do things for the heart. We may do things for the soul. But sometimes we tend to forget that the body also has needs, whether that's ensuring that you're drinking enough water, make sure that you're eating well, make sure that you're resting well, make sure that you are taking care of yourself the way that you would someone that you love. And I think that's essentially the energy here, is that it's just kind of telling you to honor your temple, re-purify yourself. Maybe it's time for you to do something that you physically really enjoy, whether it's like, oh, I'm gonna go take a walk, or I'm gonna go swim, or I'm going to rest, or whatever, dance, whatever it may be. It's time to just kind of add that back in. And I think with air, I think it goes very well with the breathe card, right? And I thought it was funny, it's like breathe pure air. Because maybe that is your message, is breathe pure air. But maybe this is also a reminder of like, what are you communicating? How are you connecting? How are you seeking out what it is that your soul really needs at this time? And I think with air, it's also a reminder of communication in the sense of like technology and things like that. When I think of the element of air, I think of like the air signs. So like Libra, Aquarius, Gemini, like that kind of energy of like ensuring that our mind is sharp, that we're doing things that are interesting for ourselves, while also learning to communicate and also speak our truth and give voice to the things that are kind of within us, the words that want to come out. Maybe there's something there that we've forgotten, and so we need to kind of disrupt the ways that we've always gone, so that we can breathe once again, so that we can really honor who we are and really kind of come back into that mental energy of really being true to ourselves. Now, next to that, I have joy. And joy is just what it sounds like. This is an opportunity for you to take a step back and have some fun. When's the last time you had a little bit of fun? When's the last time you found joy for yourself? What is it that maybe your soul's been calling out for you to do, but you just haven't had the time? Or it's not even that you haven't had the time, maybe it's just challenging for you to make time to find that joy. And this isn't to say, oh, you got to do something crazy and wild and whatever. It can be something as simple as, you know what, I'm going to take a day of rest and I'm going to do something that invigorates my soul, that invigorates me, that really allows me to call in more joy, to just focus on making my life as joyful and as magically like momentous for us, in the sense of like really pushing me out of my comfort zone, letting me have fun, changing that path up of just like doing the same thing over and over again. And then finally, you have release what you cannot control. And I think that this is more of just like kind of moving into this energy of the tower, this disruption of just like, there's just some things that no matter how much we plan, no matter how much we try, we're just not going to be able to control it. And there's just this need to kind of release that, surrender, allow, let go of what we feel we should be doing with that, and feeling as though we're the ones that has to carry all of the responsibility on everything. And the one thing that life is that it is going to do whatever it wants, whether we agree with it or not. And so we just need to kind of let that go and move on. So I hope that made sense. Thank you so much for joining me. As always, I really appreciate you, and have a good one. Hello, pile number 3. Thank you so much for joining me. I really hope that you enjoy this reading. I've already pulled the cards, and if everything looks a little wet, it's because I literally just spilled water all over my desk. So here we go. The very first card we have is the Fortune's Wheel. We have transformation. We have growth. We have stillness. We have brave. We have transmute. Lots of pretty greens over here. And then you are on the right path. And also take back your power by putting your needs first. So hopefully this is in frame. All right, cool. So the very first card is going to be Fortune's Wheel, which is essentially the Wheel of Fortune, which is to me just kind of saying like there's a lot of cycles in life, and this is very much that kind of energy of just like things are shifting, things are changing. You need to just kind of learn to flow with it. Don't try to swim against it. Don't try to fight it. This is just what is necessary and needed for you to move to the next phase. And I think sometimes we tend to get a little bit upset or feel a little bit challenged by that sort of energy. Next to that, we have Transformation, which is essentially the death card in traditional tarot, which is one of my favorite cards actually. And so to me, this is very much about transforming, it's transmuting, it's rebirth. It's like life cycles, and it's almost saying like, as we move to the next thing, something needs to be released, something needs to be surrendered. It's going to feel a little bit like you're having to give up certain things or change certain aspects, but that is where beautiful growth can really happen. Now, I don't know if I have pulled this on here for another reading, but I feel like I've seen this card a few times already in the last couple of weeks. I think a lot of us are kind of in this phase of like, we're trying to grow. There's something that's trying to grow. There's something that's trying to change. There's something that is ready for us to kind of move into this different energy. And so I'm just making sure, did my microphone die? Damn it. Let me stop this for a second. I think my microphone has been dead this entire time, so I had to switch it out. So I'm sorry. Sound quality is going to kind of be garbage. So I do apologize about that. I think I was talking about growth card. So the growth card, we're just going to keep moving. You know, Mercury retrograde is going to Mercury retrograde and get me every single time. Even though I charged everything beforehand, we're good. We're just going to keep moving with this because I've already messed this up like 4 times with this video, and that's growth. That's how we grow, right? It's through challenges and just letting it go and just going in flow with what is happening. All right, so growth, again, I feel like this is very much this energy right now where we're trying to kind of plant the seeds and allow those seeds to really take root for us to kind of move into the next thing. And growth can feel very uncomfortable. It can feel very much like it's forcing us out of like what we have like known or how comfortable we've been. And I think that this is kind of saying like, all right, like there's things that are trying to grow, and so we have to kind of move into this next phase. Now I think it's interesting because the best growth happens with stillness, and that is definitely like with houseplants and things like that. It's like they thrive when they are kind of given the right environment and they're not being jostled about and moved and this and that. And even a sprout, I'm not going to go in there and just dig it up every day just to see if it's growing. And I think that this is, again, it's asking you to kind of calm the mind. Like maybe you've been overthinking. It's time to just kind of observe what is happening around you, to have a sense of awareness as to where is your mind going? What is happening? What are you thinking about? Are you constantly obsessing over this growth? Are you obsessing over the things that you're having to let go of? Are you kind of feeling like, oh, I can't really control anything, so I need to do something. My mind just needs to go 100 miles a minute. And I think that it's almost saying like in that stillness, that is what is going to allow you to kind of move into your courage and allow you to kind of be a little bit more brave, to not self-sabotage yourself, to not feel disconnected, to not feel like something is meant to scare you from being able to step fully into this next phase. And I think with transformation, with it being like the death card, which also is like transmutation and transformation, I think it's kind of telling you like to start fresh, to grow, to change, to just kind of go with this next cycle. It requires a lot of bravery. And I think for some of us, we feel like overly anxious about things, and then we put a lot of pressure on ourselves because we're like, well, I should like have this figured out. I had a whole meltdown today about this because I'm like, I'm in my 40s, I should know what the fuck I'm doing, and like, oh, woe is me. And now I am so congested and puffy, but I guess like my soul kind of needed that release to let go. And I think sometimes we forget that that vulnerability that we have to have with ourselves in that new growth and in those new phases requires a lot of courage. I think it is very courageous for us to kind of confront those parts of ourselves and to kind of sit with ourselves. And we can't do that if we don't have that stillness to just kind of connect a little bit more to that energy. Now, transmuting is what it sounds like. You're here to kind of shed the old skin, to do something different, to shift out of what you have held on to. I think it's almost saying like, yeah, some things may not be going the way that you thought they were going to. Maybe it feels very challenging. Maybe it feels like there's a lot of things that are kind of coming up that are bringing up a lot of fear, a lot of like a sense of what am I doing? What's going to happen? Where should I go? What should I be focusing on? And I think that this is almost saying like, let that shit go. We are shedding that skin. We're shedding these old stories. We're transmuting things that no longer make sense for who we are and what we're trying to do with ourselves. And then we get this beautiful affirmation of just, you're on the right path. You are doing the things that you need to be doing. So even if things have not been going the way that you thought they were going to, or even if you're feeling a little bit like, I don't know, a little bit confused or a little bit lost or a little bit stagnant or stuck, I think that this is almost saying like, this is exactly where you need to be. This is exactly what you should be focusing on. Don't kick your own ass about it so much. Like, we're not here to have everything figured out. Unfortunately, that is not realistic for how life tends to be a lot of the time. And so it's almost saying like, okay, we got to just kind of figure this shit out within ourselves, and just really giving ourselves that affirmation of like, I'm on the right path. And nothing that is for me is going to miss me. And I will meet everything that I need along this path, even if it feels a little bit scary or even if it feels a little bit confusing. And finally, we have take back your power by putting your needs first. I think that this is more of just a reminder of reinstating a routine that honors everything that you need, that allows you to connect a little bit more to who you are and what you should be doing with yourself, so that whenever you're treating yourself like someone that you love, it's so much more challenging for others to not treat you as such. Because if your standard for yourself is very much, I take care of myself, I do what I do, I make myself happy, I prioritize myself, then guess what? The people around us will see that and they're going to respond in kind. And I think that this is very much that kind of energy of like re-empowering ourselves, reinvigorating who we are, what we need. And maybe that is the transformation, and what you need to transmute is that for too long you've been kind of putting yourself on the back burner, and you need to take care of you. You only have you. It is the longest relationship you will have throughout your life, so you might as well try to do what's good with it and make good with it, so to speak. So I think that a lot of this is almost saying like there's some big shifts happening. It's just time to just release and let go, because these things that are trying to change are for your growth. But you got to just be okay with the stillness, even if you feel like nothing's really shifting and changing, and just kind of not self-sabotage and not kick your own ass about what's been happening. This is about that growing out process and just recognizing that you are on the right path. And again, take back your power by putting your needs first. I hope that this makes sense. Thank you so much for joining me. Take it easy. Have a good one. And as always, make good choices.